My first guest today is Andy Oram, editor from O'Reilly Media. Andy, thank you very much for being with us.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
I really wish I could be multi-threaded to get so many places at once.
So this is the second year for the Health IT track, is that
Yes.
right? What have you picked up in terms of shifts from last year to this year?
The things that we were talking about last year have accelerated. And you can divide this into three areas. Ordinary people doing ordinary things to make their health better. The government trying to cut costs and put a whole system together that works. And then the companies, whether it's hospitals or the vendors that serve them, long-term care facilities and stuff. So on the personal side, we have the quantified self movement, where people are taking their own blood pressure, they're seeing how much they're running when they go out running, stuff like that. This has really grown. A lot of people are doing it, and this is really crucial because the big problems that the world faces, like hypertension and diabetes, these are going to be enormous problems, if they're not already. These are global problems, and we can solve them only if people take their health into their own hands. Now, on the government side, they're trying to improve the system. And they're trying to get more data so that we can do more research and find out what works and what doesn't. We can help people. A lot of people fall through the cracks. And the government has some systems like Direct and Connect, which are ways to connect health records together. This has an effect on the companies because of incentives from the government. The hospitals and their vendors and all the other institutions are scrambling now. I mean, they've had some systems, electronic systems and stuff in place for 20, 30 years, but they didn't really work together well. And it was ridiculous that you would go to a doctor and the doctor wouldn't know what your past history was because they couldn't get your records, or you couldn't take data and put it into your own record about your health. So that is changing, and there's a lot of effort going on to make it happen.
So how do you see open source plugging into those different domains?
That's really critical. And I heard at the conference here, and also in a book that O'Reilly is doing, Getting to Meaningful Use and Beyond, there's a common phrase in the healthcare field. When you've seen one healthcare setting, you've seen one healthcare setting. Everyone is different, everyone is unique. Patients are also unique, and doctors are unique. So open source permits infinite customization, and that's crucial. Open source is also cheaper. There's a study that was unveiled here at the conference yesterday showing that it could be 40% of the cost of a proprietary system, but that's not the most important thing. The most important thing is that it can be customized, and so every setting can do exactly what it needs. Also, doctors need to have things happen exactly the way they want them. When they pull up a screen, it should have exactly the data they want, not something that a vendor has chosen. If you're in an emergency situation, or if you're just seeing one patient every 15 minutes, you need that customization, which open source will give you.
Do you feel like the cost savings is the entry point for the discussion, and then you can get into the customization component?
That's often true. We've seen that in governments. They say, we're giving cutbacks. So that can be a good starting point, but it can also be misleading because you do need to hire people to do the customization and stuff. So I would like to take the high ground and stress things like you can interoperate better, you can have better experiences for yourself and so forth.
So what do you see as the biggest obstacles in health IT right now?
Well, the payment system is a problem, but I won't focus too much on that because it's the subject of numerous debates, and this is a healthcare conference. So I think interoperability is a big problem. For a long time I was complaining about the formats that are out there, too many formats, and formats that don't quite work, so the different vendors have different, have incompatible formats, even when they claim to support the same format. But now I'm thinking we can get beyond that, because there are tools, some of which are being talked about in the healthcare track. There are tools that let you take data and put it into a database. They do the translation for you, in other words. So let's have smart tools that can understand all the different formats, and then there'll only be 10 or 20 people in the world who really have to understand these stupid formats, and the rest of us can just exchange data and be happy.
So last question for you. How do you see the health IT space evolving over the next 5 years or so?
We'll have a lot more people doing things on their own, and the doctors have to change too. They have to involve the patient. We have to take the healthcare out of the institution and put it in the home. Even President Obama talked about this. There's a concept of the patient-centered medical home. So we'll be taking statistics on ourselves all the time. There can be some gamification in there. We had a gamification talk at the in the keynote. So people get more involved in the healthcare, and we'll have a lot less care. We'll have people doing things on a smaller level that make a difference, and we'll have fewer emergency room admissions, fewer visits to the doctor, fewer readmissions to hospitals. So we'll be taken care of less, and we'll take care of ourselves more.
So is it more about health rather than health care?
Yes.
Great. Well, thanks so much for being with us. Really
I
appreciate it.
really am glad to be here.
Thanks.